Good morning, everyone. Lots going on as usual. Today's Tuesday, November 25th, 2025, and fertilizer plant tried to stay in Canada. I can't remember Nutrien or something like that. I can't remember exactly how the name is said. They tried to stay in Canada, and the Liberals didn't seem to really care. I don't even know that anybody even got back to them about their proposal. Wild and crazy stuff, man. We've got some pipeline news, some interesting developments with regard to what the trade is for the pipeline. Sure, we'll build you a pipeline, but you have to institute a carbon tax. Right? So it's evil, right? It's evil what they're doing. And Danielle Smith's going to play ball. She wants this pipeline. Campbell's Soup uses printed lab-grown meat. I've got the video of the CEO. No, not the CEO. He's one of the high-up VPs or something like that, vice presidents of Campbell's Soup. He says, I would a garbage product. Nobody wants to eat lab-grown meat. And I've got the video to listen to the leaked audio. It's very interesting. And so that's not great about Campbell's. And Graham Linehan is not guilty. So he was brought back to England to face charges about online harassment or something to that effect. And he went through the whole ordeal, and the decision came back that he's not guilty. So that's good. And so we've got that news for you. And we've got to talk about trade. Mark Carney's who cares moment, the who cares heard around the world. Now he's trying to paper over that by rushing off to Washington to restart the trade negotiations. Very skeptical that he's actually genuinely in good faith trying to do anything, because it seems like everything they've done has been to harm or scuttle the forward motion of any kind of trade deal, right? They don't want a trade deal. Anyway, so first we have to talk about the big push for online violence to be crushed. Online violence is real violence, they say, says the UN. And I just want to give you a taste of the direction that the world wants to go in the next few years if we don't say no. And by say no, I mean pretty well what we did with COVID. Like, hey, we're not going to do that. No digital ID, no central bank digital currency. I'm not going to do a 3D view scan of my face to get on the internet. It's not happening. Nope. How about absolutely not? So there's lots to get to. Let's get to it. The other thing that I want to point out is that words online are not violence most of the time. But if they do rise to the level of violence, if they do rise to the level of criminality, we do have tools to deal with that. It's a criminal code. And if somebody violates the criminal code, then you can use the criminal code to say, hey, you should stop doing this, blah, 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 blah. I don't see why online needs its own special set of rules. We got to make sure these people don't talk too much, right? Like, holy smoke, it's wild. Anyway, let's get to it first. Charlotte says, this is insane. The United Nations claims digital violence is real violence. So is digital violence real violence? No. Here's the UN volunteers on November 24th. They say digital violence is real violence with 16 days of activism starting tomorrow. Antonio Gutierrez calls on all of us to speak up. And so UN volunteers says this is a meme of a quote from Gutierrez. And he says, we cannot allow digital spaces to be yet another place where women and girls are unsafe. This coming from the people who want to send women and girls to mutilate themselves to turn themselves into men. Are you kidding me? I don't believe that these people's top priority are the safety of women and girls in all of this. Oh yes, we have got to stop free speech in order to protect women and girls online. Next question. No, thank you. I don't think so. Antonio Gutierrez says violence against women and girls is a global scourge amplified by the reach and speed of technology in our digital age. What about what Boko Haram does? How about that? Like, how about we stop that instead of the online scourge of women and girls being sad because of the things they read on the internet? Go play Candy Crush, girls. Like, are you kidding me? This is wild. If you don't want to see something online, then don't open up the apps that will allow you to see these things, right? You've got a choice in this matter. Whereas usually violence, you don't have a choice. You're like, I'm just bopping along and somebody just, punched me for no reason or something to that effect. No choice there, right? I was walking along. I said to this guy, don't smoke that in front of my daughter. Boom, he murdered me. That's violence, right? Not, that's the wrong there, idiot. Right? Like, oh my gosh, you just virtually punched me in the face. No, learn there, and there. Okay. And your while you're at it. Reddit taught me these things. So they are using this as a way to gain sympathy for, oh yeah, well, of course the women and girls need help, right? Here's Gutierrez bullshitting.
Violence against women and girls is a global scourge, and in our digital age, technology has amplified the abuse. Online harassment, deepfakes, and hate speech proliferate. Misogynistic content is moving from the margins to the mainstream, and violence that begins online too often spills over into real life. That is why protection in digital spaces is the focus of this year's International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. I'm calling on governments to criminalize digital violence and strengthen support for survivors. Technology companies must ensure that platforms are safe and accountable, and communities must come together in zero tolerance for online hate. We cannot allow digital spaces to become yet
What is online hate? Online hate. Anything that we don't like. Stop being so online hateful. It's criminal, you know. We've got to criminalize that online hate. Online hate is not violence.
another place where women and girls are unsafe. On the 30th anniversary of the Beijing Declaration, let us unite to end violence online and off. Together, we can build a world free of fear for every woman and every girl.
I think that getting rid of the United Nations would be a good step towards removing violence towards women worldwide. I think that'd be a good first step. United Nations Geneva says if it scares her out of posting, showing up, or being herself, it's real violence. There was a time, not very long ago, where if you weren't married with kids by the time you were 22, people would make fun of you for becoming a cat lady and all sorts of things. And if you were a little bit overweight, I mean, in England anyway, my family likes to eat, and we've liked to eat for a long time. And so when we went to England, the snide comments sometimes from my grandmother and aunts sometimes would cut deep sometimes, right? And so like that was not meant to be hateful or like unsafe behavior. That was meant to socially police the social norms, right? Like, hey, like if somebody's smelly, you're like, hey, you should wear some deodorant, right? Like that kind of stuff, right? And it was the same kind of way. And now it's like, if it scares her out of posting, how, okay. So like my doing my show scared her out of posting. Hate, online hate. Oh, get him, right? Like this is so subjective that it could be used for anything. Like, are you kidding me? And maybe she's got a role in all of this. Maybe she's less than innocent. And I'm not just saying anyone, right? Like if it scares them from posting, or, you know, males or females, would they not have some kind of role in that decision? No, it's just the online hate that's influencing them. It's wild. Showing up or being herself. I mean, sometimes you got to not be yourself. Sometimes you got to put on a suit, right? Sometimes you got to get that haircut, shave your couple of days stubble and show up and like not be yourself necessarily, but like you've got to put on your best face, right? And at what point is like not being yourself or not being whatever? When are these things over the line, right? Like it's just one of those things where I'm feeling like the language being used is very useful because it's so muddy. It's so interpretive. You could look at that and say, oh, well, yes, I can see how the prosecution is making their point, right? Like you can use it to justify cracking down on nearly anything. Bernie says, here it comes, the great I'm offended control. Here, Ofcom in the United Kingdom looks to strengthen its power by insisting platforms protect people from being targeted for their posts, framing it as misogyny. Any post that attracts attention, viral, controversial, political, could be treated as a pylon. Platforms would get to decide what counts as harmful. This will mean critical political posts, satire, or even whistleblowing could be throttled, hidden, or taken down. High engagement will be seen as risk. This isn't safety, it's control over what we're allowed to say online. Can you see it creeping? Yeah, that's exactly what they're trying to do. That's why I made Linkroll, linkroll.co. Link is in the description, or it should be. And fundamentally, it's the old Reddit algorithm, sort algorithm with comments to thread. Very, very simple concept, no censorship. You can submit a link, you can talk about the link, and nobody's going to censor you because I own the platform. So I own it now. I built it, and I built it from scratch. It's a code plugin that I created with an AI thing, but the AI did the coding and I put it all together. But they're going to try, and part of the reason I built it, to go use it to help me have some kind of reason for them to try and make me throttle it or censor it. But the reason I built it was because I'm interested in what kind of instructions they're giving to quote unquote platforms, right? So I genuinely don't know. So I can see the freedom of speech being strangled out of the West, and that is not what people there were wars fought over this already, and people died to win freedom of speech. And we shouldn't give it up on the promise of for your safety, comrade, because I'm pretty sure that the same people who committed the Holodomor are pulling the strings, right? And I don't know where in the chain of command they are, but you can see that shadow. I can feel that shadow, right? Nick says, hi, and welcome to Westminster Magistrates Court in the sunshine for the judgment of Rex versus Linan. Comedy writer and sex realist campaigner Graham Linan is accused of harassment and criminal damage. And the too long didn't read is that he is acquitted, as far as I understand it. He's not. He doesn't get done for the charges, and so he's free to go, as far as I understand. And so that's good, right? And Nick says he's showed up he's present in court. He's wearing a casual jacket, a green top, and light brown slacks. He's been invited to sit in court and not in the dock. And then they go through the summary of the judgment, and then he's good. This is interesting. I thought this was going to be Dominion Society or some other group that I know, maybe Second Sons or something like that. But it's not. It's another group that I've never actually heard of. And CTV News says, alleged white nationalist group seen demonstrating on London, Ontario Bridge. So this is the kind of speech that they're going to come after as well. And so CTV News is reporting alleged white nationalist group seen demonstrating on London, Ontario Bridge. Concerns are being raised after an alleged white nationalist group was seen demonstrating in London's Old South neighborhood over the weekend. CTV News viewer Dave, who doesn't want his last name used, caught video with his dash cam as he drove west along Horton Street underpass. The video caught the group up on Wortley Road Bridge. Taken Sunday around noon, the video appears to show a group of about 30 people dressed in dark uniforms and masks standing in formation along the overpass. They're seen holding up a banner that reads "Remigration Now." The term refers to a far-right concept of ethnic cleansing. Ethnic cleansing? Is it ethnic cleansing to say that people who shouldn't be here should be removed from the country? Via the mass deportations of non-white immigrants and their descendants. Is that what remigration means? Really? Huh. That's interesting. I don't think that CTV has their definition right. That's not what I get from remigration. Viewer Dave says such a display has no place in London. I don't care what Dave has to say. So there you go. That's what's going on there. The group was called Stormtroopers. Sorry, they had the name of the group earlier, Stormtroopers, some Stormtroopers or something like that. It was a military display of force. London police confirmed they were called to the incident, that the group demonstrated for 20 minutes before leaving. No charges were laid. Anyway, they had, in an earlier version of the article, they named the group, and the group was named Stormtroopers or something like that. 2 words, Stormtroopers. And I thought that was funny because I was certainly expecting a different group to be named, and then I thought it was weird. I should have screenshot it. Anyway, let's talk about the budget. What time are we at? 13 minutes. Good. Let's talk about the budget. Mark Carney says, at the G20, Canada committed $1 billion, $1 billion with a B, to the Global Fund to help millions of people in their fight against HIV, tuberculosis, and malaria. Yay. Got any more of that $1 billion for people in Canada? Or no? No? Mark Nixon says, Tom Hodgson says Canada will win a trade war with the United States. The United States is 10 times bigger, has no federal carbon tax, and produces more oil in a week than we do in a year. We're led by people who believe they can stop hurricanes by raising your taxes. So yeah, here's this guy. He's the Minister of National Resources.
Canada will be a leading global energy superpower in both clean and conventional energy. We did not ask for this trade war, but we will win it. We got elected to build strong nation-building projects. We got elected to grow our economy. We got elected to reinforce Canadian autonomy and independence. We will do that in conjunction with Indigenous peoples and environmentally responsibly.
Premier of Alberta is expecting an east-west pipeline. The media is also reporting on the announcement of an east-west pipeline, and the only ones who haven't said it are the ones who are directly responsible.
Well, he said that they're going to win. We're going to win this trade war against the United States at the beginning. The pipeline is coming. We'll talk about the pipeline later in the show. But yeah, definitely the pipeline thing, very, very concerning. I think it's a bait and switch. Alberta is going to get screwed in this deal. And I don't think it's a good deal. So we'll see. We'll see how it all plays out. Food Professor says Mexico has now officially surpassed Canada as the United States' #1 trading partner. But who cares, right? Who cares? Who cares, says Mark Carney. Who cares? I talked to Trump. Who's that guy? Trump. I'm trying to place it. It sounds familiar. Nope. Don't know. Trump. Mark Carney. What a frustrating thing to watch. Globe Politics says Carney weighs trip to D.C. next week as trade talks stall. Oh, somebody cares. Trade talks stalled months ago. Trade talks stalled after Doug Ford did that ad misrepresenting Reagan's position on tariffs and pissed Trump off. And we haven't done anything to repair that bridge. Are we still running the ad? I wouldn't be surprised if they dusted it off for Christmas. Pierre Poilievre is responding to Mark Carney's new interest in speaking to Donald Trump. And Pierre Poilievre says, yesterday, Carney said, who cares about Canada-U.S. talks, and that he had no burning issues to discuss with the president. Now he says he's rushing off to Washington to restart talks. Is he making it up as he goes along? Well, he's got his globalist plan, and he's responding to things as he goes along, yes. CTV News is reporting Carney considering trip to Washington after dismissing question about his last contact with Trump. He's considering it, is he? The funny thing is, it doesn't seem like they really care. And then people start talking about how Mark Carney doesn't look genuine, doesn't look like he's actually pursuing a trade deal, blah, 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 blah. And then it looks like they're just trying to put on a good show so they can say, oh yeah, we're trying to pursue a trade deal, when like the reality of it is, I don't think they are. And that's going to really harm us. And you can't replace United States trade with the EU trade. It's just not plausible. It's not going to work. It's just not going to work. The Food Professor says, I take that back. He said yesterday, not a single media outlet reported on Mark Carney's who cares moment, which is arguably a major diplomatic faux pas. Imagine if President Trump said, who cares about Canada? So I would imagine that somebody's shown Donald Trump the who cares video of Mark Carney. Again, not helping our diplomacy, not helping our position on trade. And that matters. It really does matter in the era of Donald Trump. They're not all globalists who will just give us whatever anyway. And Andy Kaufman had lots of appearances on late night, and he did wrestling. And like Andy Kaufman is analogous to what I think most of the leaders of the world do. It's pretend. They get into pretend arguments, and everybody knows it. And then after the argument is done, or if they see each other at an event or something like that, everybody glad hands and they'll take pictures. It's not serious. You know what I'm saying? They're not actually genuinely calling these people out. Everybody knows it's fake, right? If somebody actually gets hurt, it's like, oh, sorry about that. I didn't actually mean to draw blood there, right? Oh, oof, right? Looked real good though, didn't it? Right? So they're putting on a show. It feels like that. Andy Kaufman, and I think he was making a point, or I don't know, I saw Man in the Moon. I was a little bit young for Andy Kaufman. I do remember him on Taxi, but I think he was making the point that like, you didn't have to be a wrestler, and the heel character and the babyface, the hero character, play well everywhere. And so Andy Kaufman, they did this a bunch of times. Andy Kaufman came back, and I went back and watched the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, Andy Kaufman appearances, and they were pretty funny. Like, it's pretty funny what he's doing to these wrestlers and having them play along, and like, it's pretty funny stuff. So, but we're just being played. It was never real. Andy Kaufman was never in any danger. They were all on the same side, right? Although I guess Andy Kaufman did piss some people off. Maybe it's a bad analogy. Anyway, let's talk about Nutrien. And Dwayne says, Nutrien offered to build in Vancouver or Prince George if the Carney government wanted to prove its commitment to unleashing growth in the Canadian economy and attracting investment in resource industries and critical minerals. According to the company, the Liberals weren't interested. Oh, we don't want to actually unleash growth or anything like that. That sounds like a lot of work. So we're not going to do that. So, got anything else? Anything else we could do? No. Mark says, another example of a WEF puppet, Mark Carney, destroying Canada. Over $60 billion has left our country and all the jobs that go with it, while he opens the floodgates and hands out more to immigrants, destabilizing our country, overwhelming hospitals and housing and resources. And John is highlighting the damage being done. And again, we're going to talk about the pipeline in a minute, but all of this stuff the Nutrien guys giving Mark Carney's government an opportunity to, show off how much they want to unleash Canada, and then them deciding to open somewhere else outside of Canada should speak volumes, right? The Carney government, I don't think the pipeline is going to come to fruition. I think Carney knows it. I think Dave Eby is going to stifle it. I think because everybody's got a veto, right? Dave Eby is going to stifle it, or a First Nations group is going to stifle it. And if they get this pipeline built, I'll be very surprised. Here's John to talk about all of this. I don't know about the pipeline. No, this is talking about businesses, investments leaving Canada. Again, another reason I don't think the pipeline is going to get done is because it would be economically beneficial for Canada, and they're trying to crash our economy. It seems like they're trying to crash our economy.
More foreign investment flees Canada, going south of the border to the United States, and the latest is a blow to Canadian agriculture. More than $1 billion in foreign investment has left Canada since Prime Minister Carney was elected to office this spring, and the latest is the $1 billion potash terminal being built in the Pacific Northwest instead of Canada. Earlier this week, Nutrien, one of the world's largest potash producers based in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, announced it would be building its new terminal not at the Port of Vancouver or anywhere else in Canada, but in the Pacific Northwest. This is another example of the Liberals' industrial carbon tax, unnavigable regulatory red tape, the Liberal fuel standard that are all driving up costs that is also driving these projects south to the United States. As Conservatives, we've been asking the Liberal government to eliminate the industrial carbon tax, eliminate the fuel standard, streamline regulatory red tape to ensure that these investments and these projects stay here in Canada. This is yet another broken promise and another failure by the Liberal government.
Yeah, a really long chain of broken promises and failures. Pierre Poilievre says Liberals say high taxes, red tape, and corporate welfare are for your own good. It's driven $500 billion south to the United States, and food and homes and energy prices higher. Get government out of the way and off your back for an affordable and self-reliant Canada. And this is a meme from The Hub quoting Jack Mintz, and it says, from the perspective of improving corporate tax competitiveness, Budget 25 deserves an F grade. And well, it's funny because Poilievre passed the budget. So if it deserved an F grade, why did you pretend to vote against the budget that you had Andrew Scheer hiding in the curtains to pass? Seems weird to me, right? Seems super duper strange. Weird, because like Jagmeet Singh did the same thing. Fought Justin Trudeau on Twitter, but didn't actually do anything to oppose him in the House. Holly Doan says Cabinet increases taxpayer funding for Canada's infrastructure bank by 29%, though CIB has billions unspent, so the infrastructure bank has billions unspent. Bill C-15, an act to implement certain provisions of the budget, would raise financing for the bank by almost a third to $45 billion. No reasons given. Cronyism. That's not a reason. You have to redo that one, man. You can't put cronyism down as the reason. Holly Doan says NRC, the official account of the National Research Council, spent $61,000 on rooftop patio lounge chairs. So they must be nice. They were approved by the Director of Research, Caroline Cloutier, who wrote that she, quote, doesn't want anything that looks like a picnic table. Other costs include trellises, flower boxes, umbrellas, and a concrete splash pad. Maybe the concrete splash pad was more than the patio rooftop lounge chairs. But still, that's quite a lot of money. Who's using the splash pad? Can I bring my kids? Blacklock's reporter is reporting National Defense acknowledges housing and healthcare shortage is driving volunteers to quit. Notes thousands of enlistees can't find shelter or a family doctor. So, big fail for the Canadian military. This is the last one before I have to say goodbye to the stream. Aaron Gunn, who's an MP, says, kind of insane that the Liberals are cutting 15% from Veteran Affairs budget to find cost savings, but only 2% from the Department of Women and Gender Equality, especially when it's not even clear what this department even does. This other department even does, the Women and Gender Equality one. No idea. I think they send money to foreign countries to tell the foreign countries not to poop on the beach. I think that's for, you've got to protect women and gender equality in other countries. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely crazy. Anyway, with that, I have to say goodbye to the stream. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you want the whole show, head over to CanadaPoly.com. If not, that's okay. I will catch it tomorrow. And everybody else, we will carry on as soon as I kill the stream. Yesterday, I kept trying to kill the stream, and it kept jumping back to life, and I don't know why. Like it would say that it quit, and I would look at it and it would be quit, like it would be done, and then it would be